The Age of Innocence is Wharton's a 1920 novel of love menaced by convention, played out against a gorgeously arrayed backdrop of opera houses, lavish dinner parties, country homes, and luxurious deathbeds. The young lawyer Newland Archer believes that he must make an impossible choice: domesticity with his docile and lovely fiancée, May Welland, or passion with her highly unsuitable but irresistible cousin, the Countess Ellen Olenska. What Newland does not suspect, but will learn, is that the women also hold cards in this game. Newland Archer, an upper-class wealthy lawyer, has recently become engaged to May Welland, a beautiful and respected daughter of the Welland family. All is well until Countess Ellen Olenska returns to America after separating from her husband, an unfaithful Polish count. Countess Olenska is May's cousin and causes a stir in the aristocracy of New York in the late 19th century. It is rumored the Countess had affairs, and the Countess's manner of dress and behavior is considered shocking. Families such as the van der Luddens judge the Countess Olenska's character solely based on rumors of her behavior, and they are quick to ostracize her from society. The van der Luddens are also quick to turn many influential families' opinions on the Countess Olenska to negative ones. Mrs. Manson Minot, the head of the Countess's family, decides to reintroduce the Countess into New York society, and Archer and May are determined to help her. Archer becomes close to the Countess as he helps her through legal affairs, and he begins to doubt his love for his fiancée. Archer realizes the Countess's unconventional ways, and her humorous outlook on New York society appeals to him more than May's politeness and adherence to class rules. One day, the Countess Olenska declares she will be divorcing the Count. Archer wants the Countess to feel freedom, but helps the Mingotts convince her to stay married. The Countess Olenska goes away to a cottage in the Hudson, and Archer soon follows. He is now in love with the Countess. Suddenly, Archer leaves and heads to Florida, where May and her family spend the winter on account of her mother's bronchitis. Archer surprises May and begs her to shorten their engagement to marry him as soon as possible. May becomes suspicious of Archer's haste to marry and believes he is only rushing the marriage to not change his mind and choose another woman. After frankly conveying her feelings to Archer, he tells her she is being silly and that he loves only her. However, when Archer returns to New York, he tells the Countess Olenska of his love for her. Things become more complicated when Archer receives news from May that her parents wish to move the marriage up. Despite Archer's confused feelings, he marries May. They leave for Europe to honeymoon before returning to New York and establishing themselves as a married couple. The Countess recedes to the back of Archer's mind. However, Archer soon runs into the Countess while in Newport. The two still love each other, but the Countess tells Archer she will only stay in America if neither of them act on their love. Archer returns to New York, where he learns that the Countess has actually refused to return to her husband and that the Countess wishes to stay in New York to care for her grandmother who has had a stroke. Archer and the Countess meet and nearly fall into the temptation of becoming physical with one another. The Countess cannot follow through and decides suddenly that she is returning to Europe. May, who is unaware of the Countess's and Archer's affair, throws the Countess a farewell party. Before the party ends, May tells Archer she is pregnant. It is then revealed the Countess has already learned of the baby 2 weeks prior. Countess Olenska leaves and time goes on. 25 years pass by, and Archer is now a widow and father to 3 children. May had died of pneumonia. Archer and his son decide to go to Paris, where Archer is intent on meeting the Countess. However, at the very last moment, Archer decides to send his son to meet the Countess on his own. Archer is happy to simply hold on to his memories of the Countess. The novel takes place during the Gilded Age. This refers to the time period in American history during the late 19th century when the country was experiencing a major population growth. Also during this time, the upper classes were displaying their wealth in a way that had not been done before. The word gilded means something that is coated in gold but has something else underneath, often something of lesser value. This idea represents the theme in the Age of Innocence that things that are beautiful and perfect seeming on the outside often have something else at the core. The characters in the novel are willing to put up with bad behavior as long as appearances are maintained. For example, they do not censure Beaufort for his affairs as long as he is discreet about them. They only turn on him once it becomes public knowledge that he has squandered their money. This is a good indicator of where the real values of the society lie. Also, they would like Ellen to return to her husband, even though she finds living with him intolerable, because divorce is something that is not acceptable. It does not look good to have a divorced member of the family. Society in the Age of Innocence is a powerful force that demands that individuals sacrifice themselves to its forms and conventions. Often, the chief mouthpiece for society is the family, in particular, those old money families that dominate New York society. Archer desperately wants to be with Ellen, but society would not approve such a choice. When he decides to follow Ellen to Europe, May reveals that she is pregnant, and he knows that this turn of events seals his fate. Finally, he cannot muster the determination to go against the mores of his world. Ellen wants to divorce her husband and be free, but Archer persuades her that she will hurt her family and be censured by society. Her family even wants her to go back to the husband who mistreated her in order to uphold society's values, and they cut off her allowance when she refuses. After a heroic attempt to change herself and fit into New York society, she gives up and returns to Europe, though not to her husband. Her defeat is completed by May's announcement to her that she is pregnant. Society upholds a man who sticks by his wife and baby, and abhors one who abandons them. Archer is instrumental in teaching Ellen to deny her own wish to be with him for others' sake, though ironically, he does not wholly believe that this is the right thing to do, it is simply what the family and society wants. But she takes Archer's lesson to heart because she believes it is a finer and more unselfish way to live than she has known in her past. In the end, Ellen reasserts her individuality by leaving America, though at great cost. She is forced out of New York society by the tribe of the family, who assume that she is having an affair with Archer. She gives up Archer and her family to regain some degree of freedom and individuality in Europe. Archer remains within the world he knows so well, though as with Ellen, he pays a price. He feels he has missed the flower of life. On the other hand, he has preserved his family intact, has led a contented life, and is respected within society. Throughout the book, May is the model of a perfect wife of that period. She is the one who always wants to keep up appearances, even as she comes to realize that her husband has feelings for her cousin. She is a representative of the culture of old money, where the society acted as a tribe that was ruled by strict regulations, and anyone who stepped outside the boundaries of those regulations was ostracized. May acts and reacts like a cog in the social machinery of the New York upper crust. Ellen is a new and different type of woman than May, and she represents where the roles of women were headed at that time. She is much more individualistic than May. She has been in Europe, and her experiences have been outside of the strictures of the type of society that has formed May. However, Ellen still falls victim to the rules of this society when she tries to re-enter it. Upon her return from Europe, everything about her is scrutinized and criticized, from her clothing to where she chooses to live. The criticism deepens as it becomes clear that she would like to divorce her husband and that she may have had an affair during her marriage. This last criticism is particularly ironic given the conduct of Julius Beaufort and Larry Lefferts. Through her characterization of these two very different women, Wharton illustrates the gender conflict that was taking place in America, as the 19th century ended, as the old and accepted roles of women began to fall away, and a new, more independent type of woman began to emerge. The novel is a constantly evolving technology, always finding ways to convey more reality, to articulate more truths, to identify new equivalences. Underlying this project is the optimistic belief that seeing the world more clearly can make individuals more free and societies more just. Wharton is not generally viewed as one of literature's great optimists, and yet, by the last chapter of The Age of Innocence, people are a little less hypocritical, a little more willing to see and accept the world.